Hi, came back for ACT 40 reading passage 3 and 4. Okay, we'll just continue. Again, read the question first, the main purpose. So you do at the end. And then 22, passage author use quotation from Shakespeare, mainly to help to make the point that Shakespeare. And then 23, you can reasonably infer in terms of main topic under discussion, passage author views, which is following work the most important. According to the passage, author who first used the phrase to look something up. So let us pay attention to that. And then 25, support his assertion about Shakespeare's use of Cooper's thesaurus, the passage author point to. And then 26, the passage points dialogue from the play, Duchess of Malfi. And then 27, author intended the question 45, 46, go to 45, 46, we put 27 here. And then 28, to make clear one purpose of early Latin only word collection. And then Eliot's word list except. And primary purpose. I'll read the passage. The title is Professor and Madman. An English dictionary, in the sense that we commonly use the phrase today, irrelevant new invention. 400 years ago, there's no such a convenience available in English bookshelf. There was none available, for instance, when William Shakespeare was writing his play. Whenever he came to use unusual word, the set of word in what some in unusual context, his play are extraordinarily rich with example, almost no way of checking the proper propriety of what we're about to do, and then not saying look something up. Indeed, the very phrase that look something up. I remember there's one question about this. It was used in the sense of search for something in the dictionary, encyclopedia, simply did not exist and happened as late as 1692, Oxford historian Anthony Wood. Okay, look something up. We go to look something up here. So 24, if you see, since I consider the book, Wood, because he's the one that came up with dictionary first. Maybe some people pick H. Webster as later on, the famous guy for Webster's dictionary. But and at this point, the first guy is Anthony Wood. And then 18, one might think Shakespeare would want to look things up all the time. Am I consanguineous? Right, 12 night, a few lines he talked, a doublet of changeable taffeta. And clear now it is woodcock near the green. The vocabulary was inevitably prodigious, but how could he be certain that in all the cases that he employed unfamiliar words, he grammatically and factually right? So we pause a question. I believe they're talking about one thing about this. I don't know. I thought that there was something about the. No, let's just move on. In the next paragraph, at the time he was writing, there were atlases of plenty, and then prayer books and see story thought to draw like more than this situation, allusion, speculate, sources. that had been complied with a man named Thomas Cooper. So as many errors are replicated far too exactly in the plays to consensus, and also have drawn Thomas Wilson's art. It is perhaps difficult to imagine so creative a mind working without a single work of lexicographical reference besides him. And then Mr. Cooper, Cooper threw in the fire and prompted the great man began. Wilson little manual, but it was conditioned under which his particular genius was compelled to flourish. The English language was spoken and written, but the time Shakespeare it is not defined, not fixed. It was like the air, granted, the medium, the enveloped and defined all Britons. But as to exactly what it was, what its components were, who knew? So 27. At the time, nobody knew the exact thing. And then who knew means, in this case, it's just rhetorical. It's just not like a rhetorical question is nothing like, asking for a specific answer for. It's just like, who knew? Um, and also, I remember it talks about Cooper, right? The thesaurus. Oh, in 25, support the assertion used the Cooper's thesaurus. The passage author point. I think earlier, okay, so yeah, line 30 it says thesaurus and complement Cooper. It is error typically to exactly in the place for the coincidence he thought it was used and drawn to blah blah blah. So in the place. So evidence from place. Shakespeare owned place. And then move on to next one. And that it is it not to say there's no dictionaries at all. Dictionaries early as this little more than a century later once Latin only the help me for students of St. Jerome's different translation of scriptures. None of Vulgates in 19 and the first of series of Latin English dictionaries appeared in the London was Eliot's alphabetical arrangement list, which happened to be the first book employed English word dictionary, and then 20 years later the name Withal put out the short dictionary for young beginners in both language, but then word arranged of not alphabetically but by subject. The name of by bards, and then word, and then the hours, and then the bees and files and others. Okay, question number 30 first. Primary purpose of word quotation mark. So quotation mark, if you see the previous such after such as a quotation mark. So then it is describing about the subject itself, because like the dictionary itself was by the subject, not by alphabetical order. So yeah, G. And then some other questions we can do with this part, because it talks about Latin only word collection, which is 28. If you go Latin only, it says line 53, dictionary up here. This is and then oh yeah, it says line 51. Students of Saint Jerome different the transcript and scriptures. So religious writing, so it's for the Bible scriptures maybe. And then 29, according to the passage, all of the following are true. It's right a word list except. So debuted in London 1538, yeah, 1538 right there. And then was first of series of Latin English dictionary. Yes, it says here 252, 3, and then Was the first dictionary in its title? Yes. And originally subject rather than alphabetical? No, because it says that alphabetically arranged. So that's D. And then move on to next paragraph. But what was still lacking was proper English dictionary, full statements, extended. Proper did not know or died in 1960. This need remain so unfulfilled. And the very same Shakespeare death, his friend John Webster wrote, played Dutch Maltby. Okay, so I remember there's one question about this. What was it? Oh, here, 26. The passage quote direct play this is primarily two. So it's about the here incorporate the sin Dutch brother image that the quotation here the pestilent and then it says cry when the cast I need dictionary too, and that gives us idea that G. And then move on to the last paragraph. But in fact, the schoolmaster named Robert Codry, who moved to teach in Coventry, had evidently been listening to the drumbeat demand and copious note all the reference book, and the day eventually produced the first half-hearted attempt wanted to publish such list in 1604, small octavo entitled Tablet Alphabetical and Unusual Dictionary Words, about 2,500 word entry and shortcoming, but without doubt very first true monolingual English dictionary. Publication remain vital moments of history of England lexicography. The purpose showing that in a history of a dictionary. So see, discuss development in English dictionary and need to prompt such book. Yeah. And 22 passages author used quotation from Shakespeare mainly to help make point to Shakespeare. It says something about right here. From line 22, Shakespeare's vocabulary was evidently prodigious, but how could he be certain that in all cases where he employed unfamiliar words, he was grammatically and factually right? So because of that, it's just giving us a few language reference available. And then moving on to 23, author view which of the following work most important. Most important, it says Pibotto, right here, Pibotto movement. So the very first dictionary that, Causeries. That's what it says. The first part of the paragraph, 76. And then left. No, that's it. Okay. Move on to next passage. Then. Same thing. Go to the question first. Main idea. So we do at the end. And then not identify which of the following features Lois Hills. And then context as regular nature 78. 78. As what? Move on to this one. Passage strongly imply that root system of prairie plants differ from the plants such as sumac and Siberian elm. And then this detail described page 9. So 5 to 9:30. 5 to 35. 36, 10 to 11, let's describe. And then 21 punctuates. 21, 37, and then 61. Imply natural prairie fires previously burn highest and fastest during season. According to the prairie's needs for water, prairie needs fire is. Okay, so reading this passage now. It's a fine day, prairie fire. Wind is steady at 10 to 15 miles per hour southeast, and the humidity hovers around 50%. For early August in Iowa, the weather is cool and won't overheat the crew. And Kevin Pieper, the ranger of for Stone State Park, attired in the flame resistant suit and blah blah blah, and he's bending out aerial photographs marked with a letter with boundary lines. So 35. Detail. So for whatever setting of fire itself. So explain see the setting of the burns, which is fire. The next paragraph, Paper and his crew preserving prairie in the Loess Hill in Iowa by torching it, which means putting like more fire. Okay, 36. Described as claims seems contradicting until questions are clear. The setting fire prairie beneficial. Yeah, maybe F. I mean, we have to read the rest of the passage, but it sounds like you know what it is. So we can like guess a lot of like questions from others. Like you know, question 40, it says need for water, need fire. Yes, they probably like say something about fire is as important as water, maybe. But we get to see later on. But you know, we're just holding on to this. And then next paragraph, these are some of the Iowa's last and most ecological diverse prairie, and they disappearing like drops of water, hot skillet, and the remain most of half of the year, lower hill, and long band of steep peak, and then 400 feet, hugging, and the Missouri River barely less than the 650,000 acres miniature mountain range punctuate the famous flatness. Punctuate is like maybe having the having the famous flatness. Maybe like the range, like you know, with the mountain range, all of a sudden they have like you know the flatness. That's what it's saying. So code 37, punctuate, scattered, question, indicate, interrupt. Yeah, interrupt. Like among the mountain hills, there's like interrupted with the flatness. And then hills blown particle by particles, and the winds with my name, and the dirt, the loss and rime, fuss means dust, loose, always fine yellowish mineral, crocodiles, and the river dry, pick the wind and scatter across the hearts. Yeah. Under the rich topsoil, once it came to the topsoil, and then crop plants, and then east shore, the lowest and dumped a great heap, and Yellow River named the lowest of the water. Fragile science was scientifically stored this, and then the first knitted, then lowest is exposed, and break it off, and chunk of foam is powdered that disappeared almost before it hits the ground. The ground in topography called mine, the intricate topography is drawing the map. The pattern of sand dunes along natural terrace, follow the hill. So it gives all the specific detail of that, hills. I remember one question. It talks about did I say topography? Oh, let's go back to the next one. Mosiah Prairie along was both victim of flow and pavement, but because the lower hill was often too steep for row crops. Like high quality virgin prairie remained so untouched. Nobody damaged this loosely and flowering plant model the hills. So 38, if you go 38, so indicate that it's steep so that nothing really happened much. That's why it's still having that virgin prairie. So that's why I say. Then move on to next paragraph. When Lewis and Clark passed within a few miles of spot 200 years ago, and largely treeless. Back then, the scorch any even patch of prairie every 4-7 years. In autumn, the dry plant could feel towered flame, the heat. Okay, in autumn. So I see one of the questions says here autumn. And then move on to next one. Vital survive, but they're vital to survive greater water itself. So which means we can say this is vital as equal as water. So it's G. And then move on to the next one, bringing fire back, paper and crew part of the network, prescribed barn fire setters called stewardship committee. And then hill to 650 acres, only about this much in regular nature, blah, 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 and then best to burn this area as regular as nature once did. So 33, so then it happens, every, I think it's 7 years or so, 4 to 7 years, line 65, every 4 to 7 years. Then continue to move on. The professional fireman is in conversion. Okay, and then last paragraph seems it takes less than 1 hour for a committee to transform patch loss ferry into smoke black blanket. They call it black blanket because topsoil gets richer, I guess. All around, scorched the skeleton is vertical but ready to disintegrate into ashes. That becomes fertilizer, basically. So main idea of this passage, the importance of fire maybe, contain fire setters and cautious preserving. So C. Okay. So main idea when you do this type of question, you can always think about too narrow, too broad, irrelevant. Piece of each one of them. That's how you can eliminate. So 32, not identify which of the following feature of this maybe pattern scheme to those ascending. Yes, it talks about here 40, yeah, here ascending. And then those cloud waters. and then complex network rich and dozen of type of. So this type of question, it takes longest time because you have to find like all the evidence to, like, one by one. I remember they talk about lowest cloud waters somewhere. 30, I'll say 37, 30, from the 36, 7, 8, like this one. Lowest, that was the lowest dumped in great heaps, and then only other in a landform like it along the bank of China's Yellow River, named those cloud waters. But then this has nothing to do with, um, this Loess Hills. This is like more about the Middle Eastern shore. Okay, so they try to trick you with the name. It's Loess. So doesn't. 34 root system. I remember it was like toward the end. Yeah, here 69. Prairie plants evolved root system up to 15 feet deep to survive the plain. So root system, yeah, deep enough. So 15. Okay, so this is it. So again, I hope that you can enjoy the way how I do, and then you can follow. My way of doing it is, as you read the passage, you can do like a lot of questions, so you can save some time. Okay, have a great day, and then I'll come back with other tests as well. Bye-bye.